This is part 2 of our work lecture. So now we're going to talk about job satisfaction. The first is the psychological capital theory. This is job satisfaction. That's defined as the positive feeling that results from appraisal of one's work. So certain characteristics predict job satisfaction. Hope, resilience, optimism, and self-efficacy are some. So finding these characteristics has led to the theory that having a positive outlook improves processes and outcomes in work. So having a positive outlook on your job will improve how satisfied you are in it. Okay, the effect of aging. Satisfaction with some aspects of jobs increase with age. So part of successful aging is being satisfied with your job. Given enough time, most people do find a job with which they are reasonably happy. It is good to find a job that brings happiness because happiness in turn brings success. White-collar professionals, men and women, show increased satisfaction with age, but blue-collar professionals do not. Probably because blue-collar professionals involve so much physical labor, and as you age and your bodies age, it becomes harder to do, so they don't get more satisfaction with their jobs. And this trend tends to hold true across cultures. It's not just in the United States. So other factors that influence your job satisfaction. Okay, so the type of job matters. Some jobs are just less satisfying than others. So perhaps a job in food service or retail would be less satisfactory than a different type of job. Another factor is the kind of family responsibilities someone has at different career stages. So whether or not they have children to take care of or not, whether or not they have aging parents to take care of, these responsibilities can really change how satisfied they are with a job. If they have a job that has high demands, high hours, and yet they still have to take care of kids, they're probably going to be less satisfied with that job. Another factor is their flexibility of work options. Can they work from home? Do they have family leave benefits, etc.? How flexible is their work? Can they make their work and their lives mesh together? These all influence the relationship between age and job satisfaction. Next is alienation. According to your book, this is when workers believe that what they are doing is meaningless and that their efforts are devalued, or when they do not see the connection between what they do and the final product. So this is most likely to occur when workers perform routine, repetitive actions. Maybe they're just one step on an assembly line and they do something, the same thing every day, day after day, and they never get to see the final product. So they think they're just a cog in the machine, that what they do doesn't really matter. A stressful or negative work environment can increase feelings of alienation. Have you ever felt devalued at work? Does it make you want to keep working there? Feeling like you don't matter makes you want to leave the job. To decrease alienation and increase commitment, employees need to trust their employer, trust that everyone is being treated equally and fairly. So employers need to involve their employees in the decision-making process, allow flexible work schedules, have employee development programs, etc. They need to keep their employees feeling valued, feeling important. So burnout, this is different than alienation. Okay? So burnout is the depletion of a person's energy and motivation, the loss of occupational idealism, and the feeling that one is being exploited. Have you ever experienced this? So this is just the state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion as the result of work stress. This is the most common in helping professionals, such as police and nursing. We're probably going to see a lot of burnout in the medical profession right now, just because of how much they're working and how much stress they're exposed to on a daily basis. In times of financial hardship, companies lay off employees and increase the workload of those remaining, which increases the chances of burnout for the people who are left. Passion. People feel different types of passion toward their job, which may affect their chances of burnout. So passion is a strong inclination toward an activity that individuals like or even love, that they value and in which they invest time and energy. Is it something that you like to do? Is it something you're passionate about? So there's a couple different types of passion. There's obsessive passion. This is an internal urge to engage in the activity, making it hard to stop thinking about it even when away. This can create conflict in other aspects of your life. So if you're really obsessed about your job and you can't stop thinking about it even when you're at home, That's going to create more conflict in your relationships and your family. Obsessive passion predicts higher levels of conflict, which increase chances of burnout in the job. Second type is harmonious passion. You do not feel compelled to engage in the activity, but you choose to do so, and it is therefore in harmony with the rest of the person's life. This type of passion, where you can balance your life and your job, you can still be passionate about your work, but you're not obsessed with it all the time. This can increase your job satisfaction and decrease the chance of burnout. So here's a short project idea for you. Interview some adults about their careers. How did they choose their career? What meanings do they get from it? Are they satisfied? Why am I not? Compare their answers to course material. In our next section, we're going to talk about gender, ethnicity, and discrimination issues. So, gender and ethnic differences. Barriers for women. In the past, when women did work outside the home, they went into traditional jobs like secretary or teacher. And this was mainly due to socialization. Those were the jobs that were considered acceptable for women. A growing number of women have been entering occupations that are traditionally male-dominated: engineering, business executives, scientists, things like that. Women who choose to enter those fields still tend to be viewed more negatively than men entering the same field. There are many cultural things that discourage women from entering these fields. For instance, men still prefer to date women in traditional occupations. So I want you to think of any other barriers for women trying to enter a non-traditional career. Women's occupational development. The characteristics and goals of women born to different generations differ greatly. Women in more recent generations, such as millennials, have had more opportunities and fewer barriers than older women did, such as the baby boomers. Women are starting home businesses at a faster rate than men. But many women leave jobs or plateau in their jobs before reaching their full potential. So we're going to explore that. Why do women leave their jobs? Maybe it's lack of support, maybe they're facing discrimination, or maybe it's a personal choice. In the corporate world, unsupportive environments, internal politics, and lack of development opportunities are the most important factors for women. There are two main reasons in addition to family obligations. A lot of women leave just so they can take care of their family. First, if jobs idealize masculine values such as individuality, self-sufficiency, competition, etc., then women are more likely to leave it. Women prefer organizations that value cooperation and collaboration and foster relationships between employees. The second factor is women who feel disconnected from the workplace. They leave unsupportive organizations so they can find satisfaction and growth that they want. Also, if they can't find affordable childcare, or if they don't want to, many women choose to stay at home while their children are young. All of these reasons make women's participation in the workforce discontinuous, which means they'll work for a while, then move, and then come back. And this can make it difficult for them to maintain upward movement in their careers. So now let's talk about ethnicity. It's a big deal to employees whether or not an organization is sensitive to and supportive of ethnic minorities. Ethnic minority employees have had more positive feelings about their workplace if they feel their organization is responsive and communicative. But more needs to be done to ensure that all ethnic groups have equal opportunities in jobs. There's still a lot of discrimination out there, which we're going to talk about next. Sexual orientation and identity. Your book doesn't mention this, but I think it's important and that it fits here. So I want you to think, are workplaces supportive of people of different sexual orientations and identities? Do you think that openly gay employees are given the same opportunities to advance in a company? What about transgender employees? Do you think these groups suffered some of the same issues as women and minorities? Should they get the same attention? I think they do. I think they're suffering a lot of the same issues, and we should pay as much attention to this as we do to gender and ethnicity. So next is bias and discrimination. Your book talks a lot about gender. So the gender bias. Women account for more than half of all employed people in management, professional, and related occupations, but they are still underrepresented at the very top. They're still not the high managers, they're not the CEOs. So why are there so few women in these top occupations? So Gender discrimination is the act of denying a job to someone solely on the basis of whether that person is a man or a woman. This is still pervasive in our country, with some women being kept out of top positions. The book says that it's men keeping the women out of the top positions, but sometimes women who do make it to the top stop other women from advancing because subconsciously or consciously they don't want the competition. So often women are forced to work harder than men and often for less pay. There's a couple things we see regarding gender. First is the glass ceiling. Okay, so this is the level to which women may rise in an organization, but beyond which they may not go. This usually exists at the boundary of lower tier and upper tier jobs. Men are largely blind to the existence of this. When asked, they'll say there is no barrier, but it is still pervasive across higher management and professional workplaces. And for decades, very little progress has been made. We still don't see women in the top positions. The glass ceiling doesn't just apply to women, it could also apply to ethnicities. African Americans and Asian Americans do not advance as much as their career as European American men. This glass ceiling is an issue and it needs to be addressed. Second one is a glass cliff. This is a somewhat disturbing trend for when women are appointed to high positions. So the definition in your book is a situation in which a woman's leadership position is precarious. So women are more likely to be appointed to leadership positions when something is going wrong, in times of crisis. An example, a woman might be more likely to be appointed to a board of directors if the company is in trouble financially. Women are more likely to be political candidates if the position is highly contested. So I'm going to put this in the discussion forum. Why do you think this is? Are the women being set up to fail? To be scapegoats? Is this an unconscious decision or a conscious one? I want to know what you think, so I'll put this on Blackboard. So what can be done? Some people argue that women are inadvertently hurting their own chances. They don't speak up enough. They need to stop trying to have it all. They need to set boundaries, get a mentor, and they don't quit work when starting a family. Too many women do. But we need affordable health care. Women need to have affordable health care. Partners who share the household chores. So men and women do the same amount, but women still carry most of the burden of running a household, even when the man and woman work the same amount. We need to pay women as much as men for the same job. There's still a discrepancy there. Women who are already in leadership positions need to support the development of other women, not hold them back. We need to offer better parental leave so women don't have to choose between work and their family. There's a lot more things we can do. Sexual harassment. The Me Too movement has brought this into new focus. This doesn't have to be assault or outright sexual comments. It could be a touch or a joke or a hug that makes you feel uncomfortable. Men can be sexually harassed too. Whether behavior constitutes sexual harassment depends on many factors: the setting, the people, the relationships. But 40% to 50% of women in the European Union and 30 to 40% of women in Asia Pacific countries experience sexual harassment. Number of reported cases in the U.S. is declining, but the reason is unclear. Is it because of all the sensitivity training is actually working, or are victims not reporting for fear of losing their jobs? Age discrimination. This is denying a job or promotion to someone solely on the basis of their age. This could be because someone is considered too young or too old. The U.S. Age Discrimination and Employment Act protects people over 40. There are also laws in the United Kingdom to prevent this. But employment prospects for middle-aged people is lower around the world. So why might companies prefer to hire younger employees? What would they lose? They would lose the expertise and knowledge of the older employees. Some employees come back after being terminated, called boomerang employees, but they come back as contractors instead of employees, meaning the company does not have to give them benefits. Is this fair? Race and sexuality. Again, for some reason, your text left out these big groups. Do different ethnicities experience bias and discrimination in the workplace? What about LGBTQ? You hear stories all the time about people who are afraid to come out at work for fear of losing their jobs. Right now, discriminating against someone based on their sexual orientation is not illegal. But should that be considered under the same umbrella as gender discrimination, which is legal? I want you to think about that. All right, we'll continue this in the next lecture.